This marriage, man, it's a complete joke. Keisha's nowhere near my level. Give it another year, tops. The laughter that followed echoed through their Atlanta townhouse as Keisha Williams stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, a coffee mug trembling in her hands. If you've ever felt underestimated by someone who should have loved you, drop a comment below and hit that subscribe button. This story will show you what happens when a woman decides she's had enough. Keisha had come downstairs for a simple glass of water. She hadn't expected to overhear her husband Marcus discussing their 15-year marriage like it was a failed business venture. Through the crack in the door, she could see him sitting at their dining room table with his three closest friends, Devin, Terrell, and Chris. Poker chips scattered between them, whiskey glasses catching the lamplight. Marcus Williams had been the center of her world since she was 27. Now, at 52, she was discovering that world had been built on sand. She pushed the door open wider, stepping into the light with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Why wait a whole year, Marcus? Let's end it today." The room fell silent. Devin's hand froze mid-reach for his chips. Terrell suddenly found his phone fascinating. Chris looked like he wanted to disappear into the expensive leather chair Marcus had insisted they buy last year. Marcus's face drained of color faster than their joint account during his last business trip to Miami. "Keisha, baby," he stammered, his voice climbing 2 octaves higher than usual. "You're taking that completely out of context." "Context?" Keisha's voice was honey smooth, but there was steel underneath. "It sounded pretty clear from where I'm standing. Our marriage is a joke. I'm beneath you. You're already planning our expiration date." Devin Morrison, Marcus's best friend since their days at Morehouse, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Maybe we should head out, fellas." "Oh no," Keisha said, blocking the doorway with deliberate precision. "Don't leave on my account. I was just about to tell Marcus how much I agree with him." Marcus's expression shifted from pale to green. "Keisha, let's discuss this in private." "Why? You didn't need privacy 5 minutes ago." She turned to his friends with her most gracious hostess smile, the one she'd perfected over years of entertaining Marcus's colleagues and clients. "Did you know Marcus thinks I'm too simple-minded to handle our finances? That's why he insists on managing everything himself." Terrell shifted in his seat, clearly wishing he'd stayed home tonight. "But here's the interesting part," Keisha continued, her voice still pleasant but with an edge that could cut glass. "I've been handling my own investments for years. Separate account, different bank entirely." She paused, letting that sink in. Funny how someone who's not on his level managed to turn $60,000 into nearly $400,000. Chris's poker chips clattered to the table as his hands trembled. Marcus looked like he'd been hit by a freight train. "You see, gentlemen," Keisha said, setting her mug down on the table with a soft clink. "While Marcus has been playing poker and taking his business trips, I've been playing the stock market. Turns out, I'm pretty good at spotting winning hands." Marcus found his voice, though it came out strangled. "You never told me about any investments. Just like you never told me about a lot of things, sweetheart." Keisha picked up her mug and headed toward the stairs. "I'll be in touch with my lawyer tomorrow. Try not to lose too much money tonight." As she climbed the stairs, she heard frantic whispers and chairs scraping against hardwood. The front door slammed 3 times in quick succession, Devin, Terrell, and Chris making their escape. Marcus's footsteps thundered up the stairs behind her. "Keisha, wait! We need to talk about this." She paused at their bedroom door, not turning around. "Talk? Like how you talked about me downstairs? Or like how you've been talking to whoever has been texting you at midnight for the past 6 months?" His face went white again. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about finding a new place to live, Marcus. Because you're right about one thing. This marriage is a joke. The punchline is that I was naive enough to think it was real. Keisha closed the bedroom door and locked it, leaving Marcus standing in the hallway. Her hands were shaking with adrenaline, but underneath the hurt and anger, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years: freedom. Her phone buzzed around midnight. A text from Devin Morrison. Keisha, we need to talk. There's something about Marcus you need to know. Can you meet me tomorrow? Java Junction on Peachtree Street, 10 a.m. Trust me, this is important. Keisha stared at the message for a long time. Devin had been Marcus's friend for 30 years. Fraternity brothers, business partners in their early 20s, best man at their wedding. If he was reaching out to her after tonight's disaster, whatever he wanted to tell her was either very good or very bad. Something told me it wasn't going to be good news. She barely slept that night. Every time she dozed off, she heard Marcus's voice. This marriage is a complete joke. By morning, he was gone, probably to his office downtown, or maybe to whoever had been receiving those midnight texts. Part of her hoped he'd come crawling back with flowers and apologies. The smarter part was already mentally dividing their assets. What would you do if you overheard your spouse say something like this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for part 2, where Keisha discovers the full extent of Marcus's betrayal. Part 2. The Best Friend's Confession. The coffee shop on Peachtree Street was one of those trendy Atlanta spots with exposed brick walls and baristas who looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Keisha spotted Devin immediately, hunched over a corner table with 2 steaming mugs in front of him. He looked like he'd slept about as well as she had. Keisha? He stood as she approached, his usual easy smile replaced by something that looked almost guilty. Thanks for coming. This better be good, Devin, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. I have an appointment with my attorney at noon. He pushed one of the mugs toward her. Caramel macchiato, extra foam. Still your favorite? The fact that he remembered her coffee order after all these years should have been sweet. Instead, it felt ominous. Get to the point, Devin. What do you need to tell me about Marcus? Devin ran his hands over his close-cropped hair, a nervous habit she remembered from when they all used to hang out together in the early days of her marriage, back when she thought Marcus's friends were her friends too. Last night, after you went upstairs and Marcus kicked us out, he called me. Devin's dark eyes finally met hers. He was panicking about the divorce, about you finding out about his financial moves. Devin pulled out his phone, his hands unsteady. Keisha, he's been tracking your finances for years. The coffee mug grew heavy in her hands. What do you mean, tracking? He hired a private investigator 18 months ago, professional background checks, monitoring your spending patterns, even pulling your credit reports. Keisha set the mug down harder than she intended. That's illegal. Technically, as your spouse, he has access to most of that information. But Keisha, Devin's voice dropped. It gets worse. Of course it did. Apparently, my life had turned into one of those Tyler Perry movies where every revelation was more outrageous than the last. How much worse? Devin scrolled through his phone with trembling fingers. Marcus has been planning to divorce you for over 2 years, but he wanted to make sure he could claim as much of your assets as possible first. The coffee shop suddenly felt too warm. Keisha loosened the scarf around her neck. Show me. He hesitated, then turned his phone toward her. A text conversation between Marcus and Devin dated 6 months ago. Marcus found Keisha's investment account. She's sitting on almost $300K. Need to figure out how to get half before I file. Devin, man, that's her money. She earned it. Marcus, we're married. Community property, but I need to time this right. Keisha scrolled up, finding months of similar conversations. Marcus discussing her work schedule, her spending patterns, even her monthly cycle to predict when she'd be emotional and easier to manipulate. Why are you showing me this? Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. Because after last night, I realized I've been enabling him. Devin's jaw clenched. I never spoke up when he talked about you like you were a business transaction. I just laughed along because that's what guys do, right? The word tasted bitter in Keisha's mouth. Right. But watching your face last night when you heard what he said, you deserved better from all of us, especially from me. Keisha looked at this man who'd been in her life for 15 years, who'd been the best man at her wedding, who'd sat at her Thanksgiving table and eaten her peach cobbler dozens of times. How long have you known what kind of person he really is? Honestly, years. But I told myself it wasn't my business, that maybe he was just venting or that you two would work it out. And the other women? Keisha's face went pale. Leanne further, her voice dropped to a dangerous quiet. Don't you dare protect him now. If you're feeling guilty enough to show me these texts, then tell me everything. He was quiet so long she thought he might not answer. Finally, he pulled up another message thread. There's been 3 that I know of. The first one was about 4 years ago. A woman from his office, lasted about 6 months. 4 years ago. When Marcus started working late and taking weekend business trips, when he suddenly became passionate about networking events she wasn't invited to. The second one was 2 years ago, someone he met at that conference in Chicago. The conference where he came home wearing a new cologne and suddenly developed an interest in working out. And the current one, her name is Amber, she's 28, works at that new marketing firm in Buckhead. 28. I'm 52. Of course she's 28. How long? About 8 months. Keisha did the math. 8 months ago was when Marcus started insisting they needed to live more independently and spend less time together, when he suggested she take up new hobbies and find herself. Devin, there's something else. Keisha laughed, a sound that had nothing to do with humor. Of course there is. Marcus has been telling people, including Amber, that you're mentally unstable, that you've been having memory problems, and making irrational financial decisions. The world tilted sideways. What? He's been setting up a case to challenge your competency. If he can prove you're not mentally fit to handle your own finances, he could gain control of everything. Keisha's hands were shaking so badly, she had to clasp them together. Devin, this isn't just divorce. This is financial abuse, elder abuse technically since I'm over 50, and possibly fraud. Devin nodded. Grimly. I know. And Keisha, there's one more thing. She stared at him, this man who'd sat at her Christmas table and laughed at her jokes and acted like her friend while knowing her husband was systematically planning to destroy her life. Why now? Why are you telling me this now? Devin's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Because yesterday I found out he's planning to have you committed. The words hit Keisha like a physical blow. She gripped the edge of the table, her manicured nails digging into the wood. What did you just say? Marcus has been meeting with a lawyer who specializes in conservatorship cases. He wants to have you declared mentally incompetent so he can take control of all your assets. Based on what evidence? That's the sick part. Devin pulled up more messages on his phone. He's been documenting everything for months. Every time you forget where you put your keys, every time you ask him to repeat something, every time you seem tired or stressed, he's been writing it down. Keisha thought about all those times Marcus had asked if I was feeling okay, if I was sure I remembered something correctly, or if he wanted me to handle some task because I seemed overwhelmed. He thought he was being caring. There's a whole folder on his laptop labeled Keisha Documentation. Screenshots of text conversations where you seemed confused, photos of grocery lists you wrote twice, even recordings of phone calls where you sounded tired. He's been recording me? Phone calls only. Apparently, it's legal as long as one party consents. And since he's the one making the recordings, Keisha felt sick. How do you know all this? Devin looked ashamed. Because he showed me last month when he was drunk after poker night. He pulled out his laptop and walked me through his entire plan. He was proud of it, Keisha, called it his insurance policy. And you said nothing. I told myself it was just drunk talk, that he would never actually go through with it. Devin's voice cracked. But after seeing how you handled yourself last night, knowing about your investment account, I think he's going to accelerate his timeline. Keisha pulled out her phone and started typing notes. I need specifics, dates, times, names of lawyers. Devin looked surprised. You're not falling apart. Falling apart comes later. Keisha looked up from her phone, her brown eyes hard as steel. Right now, I'm gathering intelligence. Devin was quiet for a moment. Keisha, you're kind of scary when you're angry. Good. Marcus has been underestimating me for 15 years. Time to show him exactly how wrong he's been. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Where are you? We need to talk about last night. She showed the message to Devin. Should I respond? What would the old Keisha do? Apologize for embarrassing him and suggest marriage counseling? And what's the new Keisha gonna do? She typed back, I'm busy. My lawyer says I shouldn't discuss anything with you without legal representation present. Marcus's response came immediately. Lawyer? Keisha, don't be ridiculous. We can work this out. She typed, like you worked out those 3 affairs, Marcus, and hit send before she could change her mind. Her phone started ringing immediately. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. Answer it, Devin said, but put it on speaker. Keisha accepted the call. Hello, Marcus. What the hell are you talking about affairs? Who's been filling your head with nonsense? No one needed to fill my head with anything. I'm not as stupid as you think I am. Keisha, you're being paranoid. This is exactly what I've been worried about. You're not thinking clearly. Devin nodded grimly. Marcus was already planting the seeds of the incompetency narrative. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. Clear enough to know that our marriage has been over for a long time. I just didn't realize it was a joke. Don't throw away 15 years because you're having some kind of emotional breakdown. The only thing breaking down is your house of lies, Marcus. Keisha's voice was ice cold. Enjoy your evening. I won't be home. She hung up and turned to Devin. How'd I do? Like I said, scary. I'm starting to feel sorry for Marcus. Don't. He made his choices. Now I'm making mine. Where are you going? To open a new bank account, hire a private investigator, and then to my sister's house in Charlotte. I need somewhere safe to plan my next move. What if Marcus tries to have you committed while you're gone? Keisha smiled. Let him try. Unlike Marcus, when I document things, I actually have evidence. As she walked out of Java Junction, she felt lighter than she had in years. Marcus thought she was a joke. Time to show him the punchline. Marcus thought he had the perfect plan, but he made one critical mistake. He underestimated his wife. Hit that like button and subscribe to see what Keisha does next. Part 3. Turning the Tables. Keisha's sister Jasmine lived in a beautiful split level in Charlotte's Myers Park neighborhood. When Keisha showed up on her doorstep that evening, Jasmine took one look at her face and immediately poured 2 glasses of wine without asking questions. So, Jasmine said, settling into her favorite armchair, so what did the bastard do now? Keisha had called ahead with an abbreviated version of events, but Jasmine had known Marcus almost as long as she had. She never liked him, though she'd been polite enough to keep her opinions mostly to herself over the years. So, he called our marriage a joke in front of his friends. He's been planning to divorce me for 2 years while hiding money. And apparently, Keisha took a long sip of wine. He wants to have me declared mentally incompetent so he can steal my assets. Jasmine nearly choked on her wine. I'm sorry, what was that last part? According to Devin, Marcus has been building a case to have me committed. Documenting every time I seem tired or forgetful, recording phone calls, the whole 9 yards. That's not just divorce, Keisha. That's criminal. I know, which is why I hired a private investigator this afternoon. Jasmine raised her perfectly shaped eyebrows. Look at you being all proactive and badass. His name is Darius Reed, former Atlanta PD detective, specializes in financial fraud cases. I gave him Marcus's social security number, our banking information, and everything Devin taught me this morning. How much is this going to cost? $2,000 up front plus expenses. Worth every penny if he can find where Marcus has been hiding that money. Jasmine was quiet for a moment, swirling the wine in her glass. Keisha, can I ask you something? Shoot. Why didn't you ever tell me how bad things had gotten? Because admitting it would have meant admitting I'd wasted 15 years of my life on someone who didn't love me. Or it would have meant admitting you deserved better. Same thing, isn't it? Keisha's phone rang, Marcus calling for the 5th time since she left the coffee shop. She'd been letting it go to voicemail, but Jasmine gestured for her to answer. Put it on speaker, she whispered. I want to hear what kind of manipulation tactics he's using. Keisha answered the call. What do you want, Marcus? Keisha, thank God. Where are you? I've been worried sick. I'm fine. What do you want? I want to apologize for last night. What I said was wrong and I hurt you, but running away isn't the solution. I didn't run away. I left. There's a difference. Keisha, I know you're upset, but you're not thinking clearly. This whole divorce threat, hiring a lawyer, it's not like you. Jasmine made a face and gestured at the phone. She could see what she meant. Every sentence Marcus spoke was designed to make her question her own judgment. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think you do. I know you better than anyone, and I know when you're making decisions based on emotion instead of logic. Like the logical decision to have 3 affairs? There was a long pause on the other end. Who told you that? Does it matter? Is it true? Marriages are complicated. Sometimes people make mistakes. Mistakes. Keisha's voice rose despite herself. Marcus, you had multiple relationships over several years. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. You're twisting things around, making them sound worse than they are. Jasmine grabbed a notepad and wrote in large letters, He's gaslighting you. I'm not paranoid, Marcus. I'm informed. And tomorrow I'm going to be even more informed when my private investigator starts digging into your finances. You hired a private investigator? Marcus's voice climbed an octave. Keisha, this is insane. You're proving my point about your mental state. My mental state is just fine. It's your honesty that's in question. I'm coming to get you. Where are you? I'm not telling you that. Keisha, you're my wife. You can't just disappear. Watch me. Keisha hung up and looked at Jasmine. Well, he's definitely following a script, Jasmine said, sitting back down. Every response was designed to make you doubt yourself. But here's what I don't understand. If he wants to divorce you anyway, why is he fighting so hard to get you back? Because if I file first, I'm the one in control. If he can convince me to come home and then have me committed, he gets everything without a messy divorce. That's actually brilliant. Evil, but brilliant. Keisha's phone buzzed. Text. Keisha, I know you're at Jasmine's. I'm driving to Charlotte tonight. We're going to work this out. Jasmine read the message over her shoulder. How does he know you're here? Probably the same way he's been tracking my credit reports and bank accounts. A chill ran down Keisha's spine. Jasmine, what if he's monitoring my phone? Can he do that? If you share a phone plan, he might have access to location services. Keisha powered off her phone completely. I'm being paranoid now, am I? After everything you've told me, not paranoid enough. Jasmine went to her window and peeked through the curtains. It's a 4-hour drive from Atlanta to here. If he left right after you hung up, he'll be here around 9. Keisha looked at the clock. Just past 5. I need to leave. Where will you go? A hotel. Somewhere he can't find me. She started gathering her things. Jasmine, if Marcus shows up here, don't tell him anything. What if he gets aggressive? Call the police. Tell them your sister is going through a contested divorce and her estranged husband is harassing family members. Jasmine hugged her tightly. Keisha, be careful. If Marcus is desperate enough to plan having you committed, there's no telling what else he might do. I know. That's why I'm staying one step ahead of him. As Keisha drove away from Jasmine's house, she realized that for the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of Marcus's anger or disappointment. She was afraid of what he might do, which is entirely different. The old Keisha would have gone home and apologized. The new Keisha was checking into a hotel under an assumed name and planning her counterattack. Marcus wanted to play games, fine. But he was about to learn that she'd gotten very good at playing to win. The hunter has become the hunted. Marcus's carefully laid plans are about to crumble. Don't miss part 4 where Keisha discovers just how deep the betrayal goes. Like, comment, and subscribe. Part 4. The evidence mounts. The Comfort Inn of the outskirts of Charlotte felt like a fortress. Keisha had paid cash, used Jasmine's maiden name, and parked her silver Camry 3 blocks away. Maybe she was being paranoid, but after 15 years of marriage to Marcus, she was learning that paranoia might just be good judgment. Her phone had been off for 6 hours. When she finally powered it back on, the flood of notifications was staggering. 14 missed calls from Marcus, 7 from Devin, 3 from numbers she didn't recognize, and 22 text messages ranging from concerned to furious to what could only be described as manipulative masterpieces. Marcus, Keisha, please call me. I'm worried about you. Marcus, I went to Jasmine's, but you'd already left. Where are you staying? I just want to make sure you're safe. Marcus, this isn't like you. Please let me help you through whatever you're going through. Marcus, I talked to Dr. Peterson. He thinks you might be having some kind of breakdown. These delusions about affairs and hidden money. Keisha paused at that last one. Dr. Peterson was their family physician. Marcus had called their doctor and told him she was having delusions. The messages from Devin were more urgent. Keisha, call me. Marcus is freaking out saying you've disappeared. He's talking about filing a missing person report. Keisha, Marcus called me 3 times tonight. He's convinced you're having some kind of mental health crisis. I didn't tell him anything, but he's really worked up. Keisha, call me as soon as you get this. There's something else you need to know. That last message had been sent 20 minutes ago. Keisha called him immediately. Keisha, thank God. Are you okay? I'm fine. What did you need to tell me? Marcus went to your townhouse tonight with Terrell and Chris. He told them you'd been acting erratically for months and he was worried you might hurt yourself. He what? He's building a narrative, Keisha, making it look like you've been mentally unstable for a while, and this whole divorce thing is just the latest symptom. What did Terrell and Chris say? They bought it. Marcus can be very convincing when he wants to be. He showed them some of your recent text conversations and pointed out how unlike you they were. Keisha thought about how she'd responded to Marcus's text. Direct, confrontational, refusing to back down. To people who knew the old Keisha, it probably did seem unlike her. There's more. Devon's voice dropped. Marcus called your job. Keisha's blood ran cold. He called Dr. Henderson? Yeah, he told your principal that you were going through a family emergency and might need some time off for medical reasons. He suggested that you'd been under a lot of stress lately and might not be thinking clearly. Dr. Henderson was the principal at King Academy, where Keisha had been teaching 4th grade for 8 years. If Marcus was planting seeds there too... Devon, he's systematically undermining my credibility with everyone who knows me. I know, and it's working. Terrell asked me tonight if he'd noticed you acting strange lately. What did you tell him? I told him the only thing strange was Marcus talking about his wife like she was a business problem he needed to solve. How'd that go over? Not well. They think I'm taking your side because I feel guilty about the poker night thing. Keisha laid back on the hotel bed, staring at the popcorn ceiling. He's good at this. Too good. Keisha, there's something else. Marcus hired a lawyer today. Not for the divorce, a different kind of lawyer. The kind that specializes in guardianship and conservatorship cases. The room felt like it was spinning. It's only been 2 days since poker night? Marcus told me he's been planning this for months. Poker night just accelerated his timeline. What exactly did he tell you? That he's been documenting your episodes for over a year. Memory problems, irrational spending, emotional outbursts. He has recordings, photographs, even medical records. Medical records of what? Remember when you went to the emergency room 6 months ago with those dizzy spells? Keisha remembered. She'd been feeling lightheaded for weeks and Marcus had insisted she see a doctor. They'd run tests, but never found anything wrong. What about it? Marcus told the doctors you'd been acting confused and disoriented at home. He gave them examples of you forgetting conversations and misplacing things. It's all in your medical file now. The pieces clicked into place with horrible clarity. He's been planning this for at least a year, maybe longer. Keisha sat up. Devon, I need you to do something for me. Name it. Tomorrow, Marcus is going to ask you to do something. Probably involve you in some plan to find me or convince me to come home. I need to know what he's planning, and I need evidence of him manipulating the situation. You want me to record him. Can you do that legally? Same rules that apply to him recording you. As long as one party consents, it's legal. Then yes, record everything. Devon was quiet for a long moment. Keisha, you're playing a very dangerous game. Marcus started this game months ago. I'm just finally learning the rules. After she hung up with Devon, Keisha sat in the hotel room silence for a long time. Tomorrow, she was supposed to meet with Darius Reed, her private investigator, to review his preliminary findings. But tonight, she needed to do something Marcus wouldn't expect. She needed to start documenting everything from her side. Keisha pulled out a notebook from her purse and started writing. Every conversation, every incident Marcus had twisted, every time he'd claimed she was confused or forgetful when she knew she wasn't. If Marcus wanted to play the evidence game, he was about to learn that two could play. The old Keisha would have been intimidated by legal proceedings and conservatorship papers. The new Keisha was about to become the most organized, well-documented woman in North Carolina. Marcus thought she was losing her mind. Time to show him what a sharp mind could really accomplish. Marcus's web of lies is unraveling, but Keisha is about to discover something that will change everything. Part 5. The Perfect Trap. Darius Reed's office in downtown Charlotte looked exactly like you'd expect a private investigator's office to look. Cluttered desk, filing cabinets everywhere, and the faint smell of coffee that had been reheated one too many times. Darius himself was a surprise. Younger than Keisha expected, with kind eyes and the most organized computer setup she'd ever seen. "Mrs. Williams," he said, gesturing to a chair across from his desk, "I have to say, your husband has been a very busy man." "Good busy or bad busy?" "Depends on your perspective. For you, it's very good news." Darius opened the thick folder and spread several bank statements across his desk. "Let's start with the money trail. Your husband has been transferring money to 3 different accounts over the past 18 months. 2 are at Regents Bank under his name only, and 1 is a joint account with someone named Amber Crawford." "The girlfriend," Keisha said flatly. "Exactly. Total amount transferred over 18 months, $54,000. Keisha stared at the numbers. That's more than Devin thought. It gets worse, or better, depending on how you look at it. Darius pulled out more papers. Marcus has been using the joint account with Amber to pay for a condo in Buckhead. They signed a 6-month lease 3 months ago. Keisha's hands clenched in her lap. He's been living with her. Not full-time, but regularly. According to the neighbors I spoke with, he stays there most weekends and several nights during the week. So all those late nights at the office and business trips, Marcus had been playing house with his 28-year-old girlfriend while telling her she was mentally unstable. There's more. He opened his laptop and turned it toward her. Marcus has been documenting his relationship with Amber. Apparently, the man loves to take photographs. The screen showed a social media profile Keisha didn't recognize. Marcus using his middle name, James, instead of his first name. He created this Facebook profile 8 months ago. Look at the posts. Keisha scrolled through photos of Marcus and Amber at restaurants, hiking trails, even what looked like a weekend trip to Savannah. In every photo, Marcus looked happier than she'd seen him in years. The timestamps on these photos correspond exactly with days when Marcus told her he was working late or attending business conferences. He was documenting his affair while he was documenting her supposed mental decline. The audacity of it made her dizzy. It gets better. Look at this post from 6 months ago. The post showed Marcus and Amber at a fancy restaurant. The caption read, "Finally free to be myself with someone who appreciates me. Life is too short to waste on people who don't understand you." 6 months ago, right around the time Marcus started pushing her to see a doctor about her memory problems. Darius, this is incredibly stupid on his part. Yes, but wait, there's more. He pulled up another document. Marcus has been consulting with his lawyer about the conservatorship process for 3 months. I managed to get copies of their email correspondence. How did you get attorney-client emails? Darius smiled. Marcus isn't very good with cybersecurity. He uses the same password for everything, and he accesses his email from his girlfriend's laptop. Amber's Wi-Fi password is Amber2024. I'm good, but I'm not that good. Marcus made this easy. He showed her printed emails between Marcus and his attorney. The subject line of the first one made her stomach turn. Expedited conservatorship process for unstable spouse. Read this one, Darius said, pointing to an email dated 2 weeks ago. Richard, Keisha's becoming increasingly erratic. Last night she accused me of hiding money and threatened divorce. I'm worried she's going to make financial decisions that could hurt both of us. How quickly can we move on the conservatorship? I have documentation going back 18 months. Marcus. The attorney's response was even worse. Marcus, given the evidence you've provided, we can file for emergency conservatorship within 72 hours of a triggering incident. Make sure you have witnesses to any episodes and document everything. Once filed, her assets will be frozen pending evaluation. Keisha read the emails twice, her hands shaking with anger. They had been planning to steal her money for months, and they'd been stupid enough to put it all in writing. Darius pulled out another stack of papers. But here's the really interesting part. Marcus has been lying to his lawyer about your financial situation. What do you mean? Marcus told his attorney that you have approximately $50,000 in various accounts. He never mentioned your investment portfolio. He doesn't know about the growth. Keisha leaned forward. When I started that account 3 years ago, it was $60,000. He thinks that's all I have. Exactly. So when Marcus files for conservatorship, he'll be claiming control of $50,000. But you actually have $398,000 as of yesterday. Darius grinned. Marcus is planning to steal money he doesn't even know exists. What does that mean for me? It means Marcus's conservatorship filing will be based on false information. When the court realizes Marcus lied about your assets, his credibility will be shot. But what if the court believes his documentation about my mental state? That's where things get really interesting. Darius pulled out a final folder, this one even thicker than the others. I pulled Marcus's phone records for the past year. Every conference call, every text message, every email. Marcus has been having regular phone conversations with Richard Covington about timing the conservatorship filing, but more importantly, he's been coaching other people on what to say about your behavior. Darius showed her phone logs with timestamps and contact names. Marcus called your principal, Dr. Henderson, 3 times in the past month. Each call lasted more than 20 minutes. What were they talking about? According to Dr. Henderson's assistant, whom I spoke with yesterday, Marcus has been asking detailed questions about your work performance and whether anyone at school has noticed changes in your behavior. The scope of Marcus's manipulation was staggering. He's been polling people about me? It's worse than that. Marcus has been planting suggestions, asking leading questions like, have you noticed Keisha seeming more forgetful lately? Or, do you think Keisha's been under more stress than usual? That's witness tampering if we're being technical about it. Darius closed the folders and leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Williams, your husband has been building a case against you, but he's also been building a case against himself. What do you mean? Every lie Marcus has told, every manipulation he's attempted, every illegal thing he's done to build his conservatorship case, it's all documented. Phone records, emails, bank statements, social media posts. So what happens now? Now you decide how you want to play this. You can file for divorce and use this evidence to protect your assets, or, Darius paused with a slight smile. Or what? Or you can let Marcus file for conservatorship first and then destroy him in court with evidence of his fraud, manipulation, and perjury. That sounds risky. It is, but it would also be incredibly satisfying. Keisha thought about Marcus's face when he called their marriage a joke, about all the nights he'd come home late smelling like someone else's perfume, about the way he looked at her lately like she was a problem to be solved rather than a person to be loved. Darius, if I let Marcus fall first, what's the worst that could happen? If his plan works, your assets get frozen and you end up in a psychiatric facility for evaluation. And if his plan fails, Marcus goes to jail for fraud, loses everything in the divorce, and probably gets disbarred from whatever professional associations he belongs to. Keisha stood up and extended her hand. Let's give Marcus enough rope to hang himself. Are you sure about this, Mrs. Williams?
Darius, my husband spent 15 years underestimating me. Time to find out what happens when someone finally pays attention. The trap is set. Marcus thinks he's won, but he has no idea what's waiting for him in that courtroom. Part 6 brings the dramatic courtroom showdown you've been waiting for.
Part 6. The Courtroom Showdown. Playing the role of confused, unstable Keisha was harder than she'd expected. For 3 days, she'd been leaving deliberate evidence of her supposed mental decline, forgetting to pay a bill here, sending a slightly incoherent text there, calling Devin to ask the same question twice in one day, all while Darius documented every move Marcus made in response. The performance was working. According to Devin, Marcus was practically giddy with excitement about how quickly she was deteriorating. He'd called his lawyer twice in 2 days, updating him on her latest episodes. But today, Darius had called with news that changed everything. Mrs. Williams, you need to get somewhere safe. Marcus filed the conservatorship papers this morning. Keisha was sitting in yet another hotel room, this one in Greenville, South Carolina, where she'd been hiding for the past week. Already? I thought we had more time. Marcus told the court it was an emergency situation. He claimed you'd made threats against yourself and others, and that you were in danger of making catastrophic financial decisions. What kind of threats? According to the filing, you told Devin you were thinking about ending it all, and you've been talking about giving away large sums of money to strangers. Keisha nearly laughed. That's completely false. I know, but Marcus has Devin listed as a witness to your supposed suicidal statements. Her blood ran cold. Devin wouldn't lie for him. Devin doesn't know Marcus is lying. Marcus told Devin you called him yesterday, crying and talking about how you can't go on like this. Devin thinks he's confirming something you actually said. The manipulation was breathtaking. Marcus had twisted her words to Devin about not being able to go on with the marriage and made it sound like she was suicidal. Darius, what happens now? You have 48 hours to respond to the filing. There will be a preliminary hearing on Friday where the judge decides whether to grant temporary conservatorship pending a full evaluation. And if the judge grants it, your bank accounts get frozen, you lose access to your investment portfolio, and you could be ordered to undergo psychiatric evaluation. Keisha felt the walls closing in. What about all the evidence we have on Marcus? We can present it at the hearing, but Keisha, there's something else you need to know. What? Marcus's lawyer filed an emergency motion to have you located and brought in for immediate evaluation. He told the court you've been missing for over a week and might be a danger to yourself. Can they do that? If the judge grants the motion, yes, the police will be looking for you within 24 hours. Keisha started pacing around the hotel room. Darius, I need to end this. What do you want to do? I want to show up at that hearing and present every piece of evidence we have. Marcus thinks he's smart. Time to show him what smart really looks like. Keisha, that's risky. If something goes wrong, nothing's going wrong. You said Marcus documented everything, right? Every lie, every manipulation, every piece of fraud. Let's use it all. 2 hours later, Keisha was sitting in the office of Patricia Morrison, one of Charlotte's most respected family law attorneys. Jasmine had recommended her, and one look at Patricia's no-nonsense demeanor told Keisha she'd made the right choice. Mrs. Williams, Patricia said after reviewing Darius's evidence file, this is one of the most clear-cut cases of financial abuse and fraud I've seen in 20 years of practice. Can we stop the conservatorship? Stop it. Patricia's dark eyes gleamed. Keisha, we're going to destroy it, and then we're going to destroy your husband. Patricia opened her laptop and started typing. We're filing a counter petition today. Fraud charges against Marcus, requests for emergency asset protection for you, and a motion to hold Marcus in contempt for filing false statements with the court. How strong is our case? Marcus created a paper trail of his criminal behavior. He documented his affair, his financial fraud, and his systematic manipulation of witnesses. It's like he wanted to get caught. What about Devin? Marcus is counting on him to testify that I'm unstable. Patricia smiled. Devin's going to be our star witness. Devin played me the recordings Marcus made of him coaching him on what to say. Devin had no idea Marcus was manipulating him. Recordings? Marcus told Devin exactly what lies to tell the court. Devin recorded everything because he was uncomfortable with what Marcus was asking him to do. The irony was perfect. Marcus's own best friend had recorded him committing perjury and witness tampering. Mrs. Williams, I need to ask you something and I want you to be completely honest. Patricia's expression grew serious. Are you prepared for Marcus to lose everything? His job, his reputation, possibly his freedom? Keisha thought about Marcus's laugh when he'd called their marriage a joke. About Amber's photo albums documenting their relationship while Marcus convinced her she was losing her mind. About the dozens of people Marcus had manipulated into thinking she was mentally unstable. Patricia, Marcus spent months planning to have me locked away so he could steal my money and run off with his girlfriend. The only thing I'm not prepared for is him getting away with it. Good answer. Patricia picked up her phone. I'm calling the court now. By tomorrow morning, Marcus is going to wish he'd never heard the word conservatorship. What about the police motion to find me? We're going to save them the trouble. You're going to walk into that courtroom on Friday morning with a team of lawyers and enough evidence to bury Marcus so deep he'll need a map to find daylight. As Keisha left Patricia's office, she realized she wasn't scared anymore. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she was finally playing offense instead of defense. Marcus thought he was smart. Time to show him what smart really looks like. Friday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that made everything feel possible. Keisha stood outside the Mecklenburg County Courthouse at 8:45 a.m., watching Marcus and his lawyer, Richard Covington, hurry up the front steps. Marcus looked confident, checking his phone and adjusting his tie like he was heading into a routine business meeting. He had no idea what was waiting for him. Patricia Morrison touched Keisha's shoulder. Ready? More than ready. They walked through the courthouse doors at exactly 9 o'clock. Marcus was sitting at a table near the front of the courtroom with Richard Covington, a thin man with graying temples who kept shuffling through papers. Devin was in the gallery, looking uncomfortable and avoiding eye contact with Marcus. Marcus turned around when he heard our footsteps. His face went through a series of expressions Keisha would remember for the rest of her life. Surprise, relief, confusion, and then growing panic as he noticed Patricia and the second lawyer she had brought with her. Your Honor, Patricia Morrison representing Keisha Williams in opposition to the conservatorship petition. Judge Chin looked up from her papers, her reading glasses perched on her nose. Miss Morrison, I wasn't expecting representation from Mrs. Williams. The petitioner indicated she was missing and possibly unable to participate in these proceedings. As you can see, Your Honor, Mrs. Williams is present and very much able to participate. In fact, we have several motions to file this morning. Richard Covington jumped up. Your Honor, Mrs. Williams' sudden appearance doesn't negate the emergency nature of this petition. Her absence for over a week demonstrates exactly the kind of erratic behavior we've documented. Actually, Patricia said smoothly, Mrs. Williams' absence was a direct response to her husband's systematic harassment and manipulation. We have extensive documentation of Mr. Williams' fraudulent behavior. This is a conservatorship hearing, not a divorce proceeding. Yes, Your Honor, but Mr. Williams' conservatorship petition is based entirely on fraudulent evidence and perjured testimony. We're asking the court to dismiss the petition and hold Marcus in contempt. Marcus leaned over to say something to his lawyer, his face now completely pale. Richard Covington stood up again. Your Honor, these are serious accusations without merit.
Mr. Williams has 18 months of documented evidence showing his wife's declining mental state. Indeed, he does, Patricia agreed. 18 months of fabricated evidence, witness tampering, and systematic fraud. Judge Chin held up her hand. Miss Morrison, these are serious accusations. What evidence do you have to support them? Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out 3 thick binders. Your Honor, we have phone records, email correspondence, financial documents, and audio recordings that prove Mr. Williams has been conducting a systematic campaign to defraud his wife and manipulate this court. She handed one binder to the judge and another to Richard Covington. Jaslyn tried to read over his lawyer's shoulder, but Richard kept moving the papers away from him. Justice is about to be served. Don't miss the explosive conclusion. Part 7. An Unexpected Ally. Patricia continued. Exhibit A. Email correspondence between Mr. Williams and his attorney discussing plans to expedite conservatorship and freeze Mrs. Williams's assets in preparation for a divorce filing. Judge Chen read the emails with a deepening frown. Mr. Covington, did your client inform you that he was planning to file for divorce? Richard Covington's voice was barely a whisper. No, Your Honor. Did he inform you that Mrs. Williams has investment accounts totaling nearly $400,000? No, Your Honor. He said she had approximately $50,000 in various accounts. Patricia smiled. Your Honor, Mr. Williams has been systematically hiding information from his own attorney while building a fraudulent case for conservatorship. Marcus finally found his voice. Your Honor, I can explain. Mr. Williams, Judge Chen said sharply, you will remain silent unless I ask you a direct question. Patricia continued. Exhibit B contains phone records showing Mr. Williams contacted 14 different people over the past 3 months, asking leading questions about his wife's behavior and planting suggestions about her mental state. She opened the second binder. Exhibit C documents Mr. Williams's extramarital affair, including financial records showing he's been supporting his girlfriend with money taken from joint marital accounts. Marcus was now visibly sweating. Richard Covington looked like he wanted to disappear under the table. And finally, Your Honor, Exhibit D contains audio recordings of Mr. Williams coaching his primary witness, Devin Morrison, on what false testimony to provide to this court. Judge Chen looked up sharply. Audio recordings. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Morrison was uncomfortable with Mr. Williams's requests and recorded their conversations. We have clear evidence of attempted perjury and witness tampering. Judge Chen turned to Devin in the gallery. Mr. Morrison, please approach the bench. Devin stood up slowly and walked forward. Marcus watched him with a look of absolute betrayal. Mr. Morrison, did Mr. Williams ask you to provide false testimony to this court? Devin's voice was clear and strong. Yes, Your Honor. Marcus told me to say that Keisha had made suicidal statements and was talking about giving away money. None of that was true. And you recorded these conversations? Yes, Your Honor. I was uncomfortable lying under oath even for Marcus. Judge Chen turned back to Marcus and Richard Covington. Mr. Covington, I am dismissing this conservatorship petition immediately. Furthermore, I'm ordering an investigation into potential perjury and fraud charges against your client. Marcus finally exploded. This is insane. Keisha's been missing for a week. She's been acting completely irrationally. Mr. Williams, Judge Chen said with icy calm, based on the evidence presented here today, the only person acting irrationally is you. You attempted to defraud your wife, committed perjury in my courtroom, and tampered with witnesses. Patricia stepped forward. Your Honor, we're also filing for emergency asset protection and requesting that Mr. Williams be ordered to stay away from Mrs. Williams pending divorce proceedings. Granted. Judge Chen banged her gavel. Mr. Williams, you are hereby ordered to have no contact with your wife and to stay at least 500 feet away from her at all times. Violation of this order will result in immediate arrest. As the courtroom cleared, Marcus sat in stunned silence while Richard Covington packed up his papers with shaking hands. Devin approached Keisha in the hallway. Keisha, I'm so sorry. I had no idea how far Marcus had gone. Keisha, Devin, you saved me. If you hadn't recorded those conversations, I just couldn't lie under oath, even for Marcus. Patricia joined them in the hallway. Keisha, Marcus is going to be arrested within the next few hours. Are you prepared for that? Keisha thought about Marcus's confident smile as he'd walked into the courthouse this morning and his shocked expression as Judge Chen dismissed his case. Patricia, after what Marcus tried to do to me, I'm prepared for whatever comes next. Good, because this is just the beginning. As they walked out of the courthouse into the bright autumn sunshine, Keisha realized that Marcus had been right about one thing. Their marriage really had been a joke. The punchline was that he'd been the only one not in on it. The phone call came at 6:43 p.m. while Keisha was having dinner with Jasmine. Marcus had been arrested at his office and charged with attempted fraud, perjury, and witness tampering. His booking photo would be in tomorrow's newspaper. How do you feel? Asked Jasmine as Keisha hung up with Patricia. Honestly, empty. I thought I'd feel triumphant or vindicated, but mostly I just feel tired. That's normal. You've been running on adrenaline for weeks. Keisha's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Keisha, this is Amber. Can we talk? She showed Jasmine the message. What do you think she wants? Probably to explain why she was sleeping with your husband while he tried to have you committed. Keisha typed back, what do you want to talk about? The response came immediately. Marcus lied to me about everything. I found something you need to see. Against Jasmine's advice, Keisha agreed to meet Amber at a coffee shop in downtown Charlotte. She was curious about the woman who'd been living in Marcus's shadow life, and frankly, she wanted to see what Marcus was willing to destroy his marriage for. Amber Crawford was prettier than her photos, but she looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, no makeup, hair pulled back in a messy bun. She was sitting in a corner booth when Keisha arrived, nervously shredding a napkin. Keisha, she stood when she saw her. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. Amber. Keisha. She sat across from her, studying the woman who'd been sleeping with her husband for 8 months. What did you want to show me? Amber pulled out her phone with shaking hands. First, I need you to know that Marcus told me you were separated. He said you'd been divorced for 6 months and that you were mentally ill. And you believed him? I had no reason not to. He seemed so concerned about you, so sad about how your illness was affecting your children. We don't have children. Amber's face crumpled. I know that now, Keisha. Marcus told me you had 2 teenage kids who were struggling to cope with your deteriorating condition. The scope of Marcus's lies was staggering. He created an entirely fictional version of their life to justify his affair. What else did he tell you? That you were dangerous when you had episodes, that you threatened him and tried to hurt yourself. He showed me medical records that proved you were delusional. Medical records? Photos of prescription bottles, doctor's notes, even recordings of you saying confused things. Keisha realized Marcus was using the same fabricated evidence on Amber that he'd planned to use in court. Amber, none of that was real. I'm starting to understand that. She wiped her eyes. Last night, after Marcus was arrested, I went through his things at the condo. I found this. She handed Keisha a manila folder labeled Project Keisha. inside were dozens of printed emails, photographs, and what looked like a detailed timeline. What am I looking at? Marcus's master plan, everything he'd been doing to you and everything he was planning to do. Keisha opened the folder and felt sick. The timeline started 18 months ago, with entries like begin documenting Keisha's behavior and research conservatorship laws. It progressed through initiate affair with Amber as exit strategy and plant seeds about Keisha's mental state with friends and family. The final entries were chilling. File conservatorship petition, move Keisha to secure facility, transfer assets to protected accounts. Amber, this is a blueprint for destroying my life. Yes, but Keisha, look at the last page. Keisha flipped to the final document, a printout of an email Marcus never sent, dated 3 days ago. Richard, once Keisha's in the facility, how long before I can access her investment accounts? Amber and I want to move to California as soon as the assets are transferred. Also, what's the statute of limitations on visiting psychiatric patients? I prefer not to see Keisha again if possible. The email contained details about Marcus's plan to move to California with Amber and start a new life using Keisha's money. He'd been planning to have her committed and then abandon her completely. Amber, why are you showing me this? Because I fell in love with the lie. Her voice broke. The man I thought Marcus was doesn't exist. The real Marcus was planning to steal money from his wife and leave her locked in a psychiatric facility. What about the condo, the relationship? All fake. Marcus was using me as an alibi for why he needed to leave you. He told me we were building a future together, but really I was just part of his exit strategy. Keisha studied Amber's face, looking for signs of deception. She seemed genuinely devastated. What are you going to do now? I'm moving back to Detroit to live with my sister. I can't stay in Atlanta knowing how much damage I helped cause. Amber, you didn't know. I should have asked more questions. I should have demanded to meet your children or see the divorce papers. I wanted to believe Marcus so badly that I ignored all the red flags. They sat in silence for a moment. Two women who'd been manipulated by the same man in different ways. Keisha, there's something else. Marcus has been lying about money to both of us. What do you mean? Marcus told me he was financially supporting you because of your illness. He said it cost him almost $3,000 a month for your medical care, and that's why he couldn't afford to take me on expensive trips. He was taking $3,000 from our joint account and telling you he was spending it on me? Yes, and telling you he was spending it on taxes and retirement. Exactly. Keisha shook her head. Marcus has been stealing from both of us and lying about where the money was going. Keisha, what will you do if prosecutors want me to testify? Tell the truth, all of it. Marcus destroyed both our lives with his lies. As Keisha drove back to Jasmine's house from the coffee shop, she realized that Marcus's betrayal was even worse than she thought. He hadn't just been planning to steal her money and abandon her. He'd been planning to erase her completely. But Marcus had made one crucial mistake. He underestimated how smart the women in his life really were. Tomorrow, Patricia would file additional fraud charges based on Amber's evidence. Marcus's master plan would become Exhibit A in his own prosecution. The joke was definitely on him now. Two women, one manipulative man, and a plan that's about to blow up in his face. Part 8 brings the final chapter of Keisha's transformation. Part 8, Final. The sweet taste of justice. 6 months later, Keisha stood in the kitchen of her new apartment in Charlotte, reading the newspaper headline. Atlanta man sentenced to 5 years for elder fraud and attempted conservatorship abuse. Marcus's photo was on the front page, looking nothing like the confident man who'd once called their marriage a joke. The trial had been swift and decisive. Marcus's own documentation had provided most of the evidence needed to convict him. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Richard Covington, Marcus's lawyer, had been disbarred for knowingly filing false documents with the court. Apparently, prosecutors found additional evidence that Richard had helped other clients abuse the conservatorship system. Devin stopped by that morning with coffee and updates. Did you see Marcus's interview with the prison newsletter? He gave an interview? A short one. He said he was a victim of circumstantial evidence and that you manipulated everyone into believing lies about him. Keisha almost laughed. Even in prison, Marcus was still trying to rewrite history. Patricia called me yesterday, Keisha, she said, accepting the coffee from Devin. The civil suit settlement came through. Marcus had been forced to pay her $150,000 in damages, basically everything he had left after legal fees and restitution. Amber had also received a small settlement for being defrauded, though she donated her portion to a domestic violence charity. What are you going to do with the money? Devin asked, settling into her couch. Travel, maybe. Actually, yes. I've always wanted to see Europe. Keisha smiled at Devin's carefully casual tone. Over the past 6 months, she and Devin had become close friends. He'd been instrumental in Marcus's conviction, testifying about the lies Marcus had asked him to tell. More importantly, he'd become the kind of friend she'd forgotten was possible. Someone who listened without judging, supported without expecting anything in return. Maybe not alone. I hear Paris is beautiful in the spring. Devin's face lit up. I've always wanted to see Paris. Devin Morrison, are you asking to be my travel companion? I'm asking to be whatever you want me to be, Keisha. They were interrupted by her phone ringing. The caller ID showed King Academy. Keisha, Dr. Henderson said when she answered. I have a proposition for you. I'm listening. The school board approved our new anti-bullying program, and we want you to head it up. It's a promotion, department head level with a $20,000 salary increase. Keisha had been back at work for 3 months, and it felt like coming home. Teaching had always been her sanctuary, the one place where she felt completely confident and capable. When do I start? September, if you're interested. But Keisha, there's something else. What? The program includes community outreach. Specifically, we want to partner with senior advocacy groups to educate older adults about financial abuse and manipulation. The irony was perfect. Marcus's attempt to destroy her had given her a platform to help other people avoid the same fate. Dr. Henderson, I'm very interested. After she hung up, Devin was grinning at her. Department head, that's fantastic. It feels right, like everything that happened with Marcus was leading to this. Maybe it was. Maybe Marcus's biggest mistake was showing you how strong you really are. Keisha thought about the woman she'd been a year ago, quiet, accommodating, always deferring to Marcus's opinions and decisions. That woman was real, but she was also incomplete. The past year had forced her to discover parts of herself she'd forgotten existed. Devin, can I ask you something? Anything. That night at poker, when Marcus said our marriage was a joke, did you think he was right? Devin was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I thought Marcus was the joke. You were the best thing that ever happened to him, and he was too stupid to see it. Why didn't you say anything? Because I didn't think it was my place. But Keisha, if I could go back and change that night, I wouldn't want you to change anything. If Marcus hadn't revealed who he really was, you might have spent the rest of your life with him. He paused. And now you know what you're worth, and you know the difference between being loved and being used. That evening, Keisha sat on her apartment balcony with a glass of wine, watching the sunset over Charlotte's skyline. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jasmine. Saw the newspaper article. How are you feeling? Keisha typed back, like the punchline of a very good joke. What do you mean? Marcus thought I was the joke. Turns out I was the one laughing all along. In the distance, she could see the lights of the city coming on, one by one. Somewhere out there, people were making promises to love and honor each other. Some of those promises would be real, and some would be lies wrapped in pretty words. But Keisha had learned to tell the difference. Marcus had been right about one thing. Their marriage had been a joke. But the real punchline was that destroying it had been the best thing that ever happened to her. She'd spent 15 years trying to be the wife Marcus wanted. Now she was free to be the woman she'd always been underneath. And that woman? She was pretty amazing. Keisha raised her wine glass to the sunset, to new beginnings, and to the beautiful irony that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened to you. To second chances, she whispered to herself. From inside the apartment, she heard Devon's voice. "Did you say something?" She smiled. "Just making a toast." "Mind if I join you?" "Not at all." As Devon stepped out onto the balcony with his own glass, Keisha realized that this moment, this peace, this freedom was what happiness felt like. Not the fake happiness she tried to manufacture with Marcus, but real, authentic joy that came from knowing exactly who she was and what she deserved. Marcus had called their marriage a joke. He underestimated her, manipulated her, and tried to destroy her. But in the end, she'd done more than survive. She'd thrived. And that was the best revenge of all. Thank you for following Keisha's incredible journey from victim to victor. If this story inspired you, hit that like button, drop a comment about what you thought, and subscribe for more amazing stories of people who refuse to be defeated. Remember, sometimes the worst betrayal becomes your greatest transformation. Share this with someone who needs to hear this message today. What would you have done in Keisha's situation? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out our other stories about people who turned their lives around against impossible odds.